opened up QuickBooks, which we just implemented,
Okay.
and I told them that we opened a new bank account.
Who was the bank account
Bank of
under
America.
before?
What's that?
Who was the bank account?
Chase.
No, but who was it under? Was it under Maggie?
It
What's
was
her name?
Narco activities.
But Maggie was still
So
in charge of the bank account,
The
right?
name was Norco Activities Boosters. The
And-
person on that account was Margaret.
Margaret, who's the main signer on that?
Margaret.
So Margaret was still, even though she's been resigned from the board, she still had the
She
bank
was still on
account?
the bank account.
Okay,
Yes.
so how did we sign checks and things like that? Did
We weren't the
forge
ones
your
signing it.
signature, or?
I was the one signing checks.
So who signed her name? Cause there's a lot of checks.
Anthony was the
that-
signer of the checks.
So was he signing Anthony or her name?
We can't speak to
I-
that.
we
can't speak to that.
No.
It was-
Everybody
Well,
that's
it's-
currently on the board right now had no,
Well, we
did
could
not, were
look,
not check
just like
signers.
a check that's got signed by somebody.
If you're
Very
asking if
easy.
the signature had an A or whatever, or an M on it, no, it was
But
just.
that's a
it was-
huge
it was
thing that we
scribbled.
need to know,
It
right? If
was
someone's
scribbled.
not on the board anymore, right?
Just to be,
And this is, I'm just trying to,
No, that's
let's
fine.
just
It
have
was- it was
transparency, right?
scribbled.
so just, I think I can answer that, so just to be
Yeah,
clear.
this isn't an attack on anybody in this
No,
room.
no,
We're
it's
just
fine.
trying to figure out
We're
what's
answering
going on, right?
We're trying to
So-
provide you the transparency, and I think I can probably help answer it, so just to be clear,
So Maggie still had the bank account, even though she was not part of JAF
Can you give her
anymore.
a
Can you
chance
let
to
her,
share
let?
it?
Correct.
I'm
let
just
them-
asking the correct
I
question, so
understand that,
obviously
but
don't
it's
win.
being
She's trying to
interrupted
But there's a
by
lot of people that are
them trying
jumping
to
in.
explain and answer your questions, so let them
Okay,
answer
we're
the
just getting
question, and then
started, so
you
I
can
haven't
ask
had
them all
nothing
the
but
questions.
time.
So back in June, there was a discussion, where in one of our board meetings where Anthony was talking about, moving on next year and getting, other people in on the bank account, so that we can continue operating business. And, there were questions asked at that meeting, and Anthony did admit that the Chase account that we were using at the time was still in Maggie, Fraser, and Carranza's name.
What made you
So-
guys ask those questions?
Because he wanted us on the account, and the three people that were asking majority of the questions are all, one of them is a business owner themselves, I work in a professional environment, I am an executive with the company I work for, Johnny's.
I was one of them.
So Anthony was never on
Johnny's
any of
also
these
asking.
accounts?
No,
So, no.
So the president of the league was never on any of the bank accounts?
no.
Oh, wow.
So Johnny, so we had put down a firm hard line that, none of us felt comfortable going on the account and being financially responsible if we didn't have clear accounting. And
As
the
you
only way
should.
that I was willing to do it was if we accounted all the way back to January first. This is before the city told us that we had to do it.
And before I
So-
cut you off, right, and I get that.
Right,
Do we have books from the whole time that Anthony was
So
president?
we don't have books, we were able to download, the bank transactions back to January 1, before the account was closed. And that is what we used to rebuild all of our accounting. So we use the bank transactions back to January 1. One of the things, and so we did that, we rebuilt our accounting, and we just finished that today. So
So who was on the board at that time when we had the account still in Maggie's name and we didn't know any of this information? Who was the president at that time? Anthony? Who was the vice president?
Correct,
Sarah?
correct.
You were what, the head AD, right?
I was a chapter 80. I've
Anybody
never,
else here on the board that was a part of that?
Yep, I was here.
And what was your role?
I'm the chair coordinator.
You were the cheer coordinator, and that was it? Okay.
Just so you, where the
Okay,
history of
Davey
this
left.
is the city came to me after I showed them we had money in the bank, so we're in a positive financial position.
Mhm.
The city said, I need you to rebuild and reconcile your bank accounts January 1st through this year. We didn't implement an accounting system, QuickBooks, until sometime in July. I believe I opened up the bank account with $300 in July.
Okay.
Okay, so prior
So
to
we
that.
started negative and you got us
we
positive.
didn't start negative, we started this year.
In debt, right?
Was that?
Didn't we start in debt
We
with fields that
started
we
this
owed and
year-
different things?
Well, it depends how you look at it, because we started this year with money in the bank account, we owed some bills from last year.
Okay,
Okay, so
in debt.
we started with about $1,200 in the bank account.
okay. And how much
Okay.
were we in debt?
I don't know.
as long as we've been on
It's
the
gonna
account,
be a
we've never
portion
been
for,
in
it's
a
going
zero.
a portion for the city.
About $20-something thousand, weren't? for
About
not paying-
$20,000.
Yeah, about a little 20, over 20,000 in debt, okay?
So then that's what we did. So the hard part was we had to go and rebuild books from scratch.
Mhm. And you guys did a great job doing that, that's why we're all here.
Which means, all we had was a bank account, so
Mhm.
we had to import all the Chase transactions from January 1, which is what our responsibility is, from January 1 into QuickBooks. And then at that point, this has been very difficult.
It has.
But we had to go rebuild all these charges
Mhm.
from nothing. We had to
So-
start calling, and Rebecca, I talked to Rebecca more than I talked to my wife.
For sure. I talked to you guys, these kids won't even talk to my wife.
So it's been a lot to rebuild a bank account from scratch, right? There's no accounting prior.
Yeah.
So.
And isn't
we-
that
we-
odd to the board though, that there's no accounting?
It is, that's why when I
This
give,
is why we
it is, that's why I said I won't be a part of this board
100%.
unless we have an accounting
And
system.
who
We need
is,
to-
what's the pecking order when it comes down to running this business? It goes president and who's the treasurer?
Well,
So who's
well,
the
no.
treasurer?
Well,
Sarah was
Sarah
treasurer
was the
this
treasurer,
year.
right?
This year, I'm treasurer because I didn't want to
Who
have
in the
anybody
past
be
was the
responsible